It was close to midnight when Evan finally sat down on his old wooden chair. The cabin was silent, except for the soft crackling of the fireplace. Outside, the wind pushed against the windows, and the tall pine trees whispered like they were, sharing secrets with the darkness. Evan liked nights like this, quiet, calm, safe, but that calm broke in one strange moment. A soft tap. Tap, tap sounded at the door. At first, Evan thought it was the wind. He ignored it and sipped his warm tea. But then the sound came again, sharper this time, like someone barely strong enough to knock. Tap, tap. Evan froze. No one should be out here. His cabin was deep in the woods. The nearest town was miles away. He waited, listening. The knocking came again, but weaker, almost like a plea. Slowly, Evan stood up and walked to the door. His heart beat a little faster. He called out, "Who's there?" No answer. He unlocked the door and opened it only a little, just enough to peek outside, and then his breath caught. A woman stood on the porch. But she was not like any woman from this world. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight trapped beneath her flesh. Her hair had a soft silver shine, and her eyes, wide, strange, and trembling, looked like liquid metal. She was shaking badly, her legs barely keeping her upright. Evan stepped back in shock. He wanted to speak, but no words came. The woman lifted her head slightly. Her lips moved. Her voice came out as a weak whisper that barely touched the air. "I'm hungry." Her body swayed. Her silver eyes rolled back. Then she collapsed forward with no strength left. Evan reacted on instinct. He caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin felt warm, but not like human warmth, more like warm metal. She was light, too light, like she was starving or drained of energy. "What in the world?" Evan murmured, lifting her carefully. He looked out into the darkness. The woods were completely still. No animals running. No sounds, only that cold wind. Something about the silence felt wrong, as if the night itself was holding its breath. Evan carried the strange woman inside and gently lowered her onto the couch. Her chest rose and fell in small, quick breaths. She looked fragile, as if even the air might break her. "What happened to you?" he whispered. When he pushed up her sleeve to check her pulse, he saw something on her wrist, a glowing symbol. It looked like a circle surrounded by tiny star-like marks. It pulsed softly, as if alive. Evan felt a chill crawl up his back. He had seen strange things in the woods before, odd lights in the sky, strange humming sounds late at night, but nothing like this. Nothing so close. Nothing he could touch. He looked at her face again. Even unconscious, she looked scared, lost, alone. He did not know if she was dangerous. He did not know if something dangerous was chasing her. But he knew one thing: she was hurt, and she needed help. Evan grabbed a blanket and put it over her. Then he walked to the kitchen and filled a cup with water. His hands shook a little. As he came back, he noticed something outside the window, two small glowing marks on them, ground like footprints made of light. They were faint, but they were there. He stepped closer to the window, holding his breath. There were more footprints leading into the trees, and they were fresh. Whatever made them had passed by only moments ago. And they were not like the woman's prints. They were heavier, deeper, and the glow they gave off was a stronger blue, almost electric. Evan felt his stomach twist. Something else had been out there, something big enough to shake the ground slightly. Something strong, and it had been close, too close. He locked the windows. Then he checked the door again, making sure the latch was tight. His cabin suddenly felt too small, too open, too easy to break into. He sat beside the unconscious woman and listened. The woods were dead silent. The kind of silence that warned him he was not alone. He looked at her glowing wrist again. The symbol dimmed, then brightened, as if warning him of something. Evan whispered to himself, What have you brought here?" The fire flickered. The wind pressed harder against the windows. And outside, far in the dark, something moved, something watching the cabin with cold, patient eyes. The night was no longer safe. Had only begun. The night dragged on slowly inside Evan's cabin. The strange woman lay motionless on the couch, her glowing skin dimming and brightening like a slow heartbeat. Evan sat on a nearby chair, watching her with tired eyes. He tried to drink his tea again, but his hands were still shaking too much. Kept replaying the moment she collapsed in his mind, her weak whisper, the strange light in her eyes, the glowing symbol on her wrist. Every detail made him more certain that she was not just lost. She was in danger. And now, so was he. Outside, the glowing footprints near the trees had already faded, but Evan knew what he saw. Something had been searching. Something that was not human. He leaned forward and studied the woman's face. Her breathing had slowed, becoming smoother, almost peaceful. The faint glow on her body warmed the room like soft starlight. Suddenly, her fingers twitched. Evan sat up straight. Her eyes snapped open. Silver light burst from them for one quick second, bright enough to paint the ceiling in shimmering light. Evan stepped back, nearly stumbling over the small table. But the light faded fast, leaving her gasping for air. She stared at the ceiling first, confused, then turned her head toward Evan. The moment her eyes found him, she flinched. Her body tensed, ready to defend itself, though she could barely move. Evan raised both hands slowly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." Her breathing came fast and sharp. She tried to sit up but failed, falling back onto the couch. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice soft but layered with a strange echo, like two voices speaking at once. "You're in my cabin," Evan said. "You fainted at my door. I just tried to help." She stared at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand his words. Then she looked down at her own hands, glowing faintly. "Your world," she murmured. "I made it here." Evan nodded slowly. "You're not from Earth, right?" Her eyes softened, but worry still filled them. "No, my name is Lyra. I belong to the star cluster of Arelon." She swallowed hard. "I should not be here. I should not involve you." "Well, it's too late for that," Evan said, forcing a small smile. "You already collapsed on my porch." Lyra looked guilty, almost frightened. She touched the glowing symbol on her wrist. It flickered weakly, like a dying flame. "I am low on energy. I have not eaten in days. My body cannot heal without the right source." "Does human food work?" Evan asked. Lyra looked unsure. "Maybe, I do not know. I have never tested it." Evan hurried to the kitchen and returned with bread and a bowl of warm soup. She stared at the food like it was a strange artifact. Slowly, she reached for the bread. Her fingers shook. She took a small bite. Her eyes widened. Warm light spread across her skin, brighter than before. She took another bite, then another. Her glow steadied, becoming smoother and softer. "It helps," she whispered. "Not perfect, but helps." Evan relaxed a little. "Good. You look like you were dying out there." Lyra lowered the bread and stared at the door. Her expression changed. Fear returned to her eyes. "They are close," she said. Evan's stomach tightened. "The ones who made those glowing footprints?" She nodded slowly. "Hunters. They track energy signatures. They chase my kind across galaxies." She closed her eyes briefly, as if reliving something painful. "I escaped, but they followed the trail of my crash pod." Evan swallowed hard. He wasn't ready for this. He lived alone for a reason. Peace, quiet, no danger. Now he had an alien woman on his couch and alien hunters roaming the woods. "Why are they hunting you?" he asked softly. Lyra hesitated, looking down at her glowing wrist. "My people carry a gift. We sense life. We sense emotion. We can feel the truth inside any heart." She touched the center of her chest where her glow was strongest. "This makes us valuable." and dangerous. To those who want control. She shivered. Evan grabbed another blanket and placed it gently over her. She looked at him with startled eyes, as if shocked that a stranger showed such simple kindness. "You helped me," she whispered. "No one helps my kind. Not in the worlds I have seen." "Well," Evan said, sitting back down, "I'm not like those worlds." Lyra stared at him for a long time, as if studying something deep inside him. Then she breathed out slowly. "You are safe," she said quietly. "Your heart has no lies in it." A strange warmth passed through the room, but outside the wind changed direction. The cabin walls trembled just slightly. Lyra's eyes suddenly sharpened. "They found the trail," she whispered. "They are coming." The forest outside was alive with shadows, though no wind stirred the branches. Evan sat on the floor beside the couch, his back against the wall. He could feel the warmth of Lyra's body beneath the blanket, but the air around them was cold. She had eaten a little, enough to regain some strength, yet her glowing skin was still weak and flickering. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the cabin. It was low at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew steadily. The sound made Evan's skin prickle. His teeth grind slightly. It was not from the wind. It was mechanical. Deliberate. Lyra's eyes snapped open. Silver light flared across her face. Her small hand gripped his arm tightly. "They are close," she said, her voice tense. "The hunters. They smell my energy. They will not stop until they find me." Evan tried to stay calm, but fear tightened his chest. He glanced at the windows, then the front door. "How many are we talking about?" "More than one. Several. They move together, silent but deadly. They do not care who is in the way," Lyra whispered, almost to herself. Evan swallowed hard. "Okay, we need a plan. Can you fight them?" Lyra shook her head slightly. "Not yet. I am still weak, but I can sense them. I can warn you." Evan nodded. He grabbed a heavy chair and placed it in front of the door. Then he peeked through the curtain. The forest was dark, almost black, except for faint glowing trails weaving through the trees. They were not natural. Each glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Spreading outward, following a path straight to the cabin. "They're tracking the pod's energy signature," Lyra said. Her voice was steady, but her silver eyes betrayed fear. "If they reach me, they will capture me alive. You will not survive unprepared." Evan clenched his fists. He didn't care about survival. He couldn't just let them take her. "Then we fight." "Somehow," he said. Lyra studied him for a moment, as if reading his thoughts. Then she nodded slightly. "If they enter, I can create a burst of light. It will blind them, but only briefly. You will need to act fast." The cabin floor trembled faintly. The hunters were close now, so close that their hum was almost inside Evan's head. The hairs on his neck stood up. He gripped a fire poker like a weapon. The warmth of the fire was gone. Only the cold dread remained. A shadow moved outside the window, sliding over the snow and dirt. Then another. Evan froze. Shapes emerged tall. Metallic humanoid figures with glowing blue eyes. Their movements were silent, predatory. They stopped at the edge of the trees, scanning, sensing, searching. "They are testing the boundary," Lyra said softly. "They know something is here." Evan's heart pounded. "What do we do?" Lyra placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "Trust me. When I give the signal, do not hesitate." The figures moved closer, their feet leaving deep glowing marks in the dirt. Evan realized with growing horror that they were not human. They were hunters from another world, tall, armored, and sharp. Their presence radiated cold and purpose. One of them reached the cabin door. It paused, sensing the energy inside. Its blue eyes glowed brighter. Lyra's body shivered, and her glow surged. "Now," she whispered. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light exploded from her hands. filling the room with brilliance. Evan had to cover his eyes. The hunters recoiled, screeching in alien voices. One slammed against the wall, another fell backward through the snow outside. Evan scrambled to the door. He swung the fire poker with all his strength at the nearest figure. The metal scraped, sparks flew, and the hunter hissed. Lyra's light flickered, weakening. She stumbled but quickly recovered, sending another pulse toward the remaining hunters. Evan shouted, "Go!" "Run!" Lyra nodded and ran toward the back door. He followed, heart hammering in his chest. Outside, the forest seemed endless, a maze of darkness and glowing tracks. The hunters were recovering, regrouping. They would not give up. Evan's legs burned as he ran. Lyra's glow pulsed softly ahead of him, guiding the way. Every branch that touched his face, every sharp rock underfoot, reminded him how fragile they were. But he kept moving. He could not stop. They reached a small clearing where Lyra finally paused, leaning on a tree. Her hands glowed faintly, still. Radiating energy, she turned to him. "They will not give up soon, but they will need time to find the next trail. We are safe." "For now," Evan sank to the ground, gasping. "Safe for now," he repeated. The words felt hollow. The hunters were out there, waiting, watching, thinking. Lyra touched his arm gently. "You saved me. You gave me a chance to survive. I will not forget this." Evan looked into her silver eyes, seeing something he had never seen before: trust. Gratitude. Something stronger than fear. The forest around them was dark, quiet again. But the glow of those hunters lingered in Evan's mind. They had escaped for now. But tomorrow, or the next night, the hunt would continue. And Evan realized with cold certainty that nothing would ever be the same again. The forest was quiet now, but the stillness felt dangerous, like holding your breath underwater. Evan and Lyra crouched behind a cluster of tall ferns, their breaths shallow. The hunters had vanished into the darkness, but the air still carried a metallic hum, faint and unsettling, as if the world itself remembered them. Evan looked at Lyra. She was different when she wasn't glowing fiercely or fighting for survival. Her silver hair fell in soft waves, and her eyes, though still strange and metallic, held something softer now. Fear, yes, but also trust, gratitude, something human, or at least close enough for him to understand. "You should rest," Evan whispered, keeping his voice low. "They won't find us here tonight." Lyra shook her head. "I cannot fully rest. My energy's weak, and if I sleep too long, I might not wake in time. But I can stay calm as long as you are here." Evan felt a strange warmth inside him. No one had ever said anything like that to him before. He nodded, understanding without fully knowing why. "I'll stay, all night, if I have to." They moved slowly toward a small hidden cave Evan had discovered years ago. It was overgrown with roots and moss, almost invisible from the main path. He had used it once as a storage space during hunting trips, but tonight it became a sanctuary inside. The air was damp and cool. Lyra sat on a stone ledge, her glowing wrist pulsing faintly as she lowered herself. Evan sat beside her, careful not to touch too much at first. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable, it felt necessary, like both of them were learning each other in that quiet. "You helped me back there," Lyra said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "You risked your life for a stranger." Evan shrugged, though his hands tightened into fists. "I didn't have a choice. You were in trouble. I couldn't just leave you." She studied him, her glowing eyes reflecting the faint light of his flashlight. "Humans are not usually like that. I've seen worlds where kindness is rare, where survival demands cruelty. You are different." Evan laughed softly, a little bitter. "Maybe I'm just stubborn. Or maybe I'm too old to care about the rules of survival." For a moment, Lyra didn't speak. Then she reached toward him, hesitating. Her hand hovered over his shoulder, uncertain. "You have a strong heart," she said. "Not just brave. Strong, I can feel it." Evan blinked, unsure how to respond. No alien or human had ever spoken to him like that. It felt like she could see inside him, right through the walls he had built. And maybe she could. The hum from outside returned, faint but steady. He tensed immediately. Lyra noticed and placed a hand over his. Her skin was cool now, but her glow steadied, a soft pulse in the darkness. "They are searching," she said. "But they are not close enough yet. We have time." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of her trust. Time for what? Lyra's silver eyes met his. For understanding, for planning, for maybe even for friendship. Family, the word hung in the air. Evan's heart skipped. Family? Could an alien, could someone from another world really call him that? Yet the sincerity in her voice made it impossible to dismiss. He swallowed. I don't know. I never had much family myself. But maybe we can be something like that, for now. Lyra's glow brightened slightly, almost like a smile. She leaned back against the cool stone wall and let out a soft breath. "I have never trusted anyone this quickly, but you. I do. You saved my life. You are my family now." The word repeated itself in Evan's mind like a pulse. Family. A strange new kind of warmth spread through him. Even as danger lingered outside, even as hunters tracked her energy, he felt anchored, connected, not alone. They spoke then quietly about Lyra's world. About the Arelon star cluster, where stars shone in colors Evan had never imagined. About her people, who could sense emotions, read intentions, and survive in ways humans never could. She spoke carefully, choosing words he could understand. He asked questions, fascinated by every detail. Hours passed like minutes. The forest outside remained still. The hunters prowled somewhere in the shadows, but Evan and Lyra remained hidden. Their bond grew stronger with each shared story, each quiet glance. Finally, Lyra closed her eyes briefly. Evan kept watch, but he felt a strange peace settle over him. For the first time in years, he did not feel completely alone, and even though danger waited beyond the cave, beyond the trees, beyond the dark hum of the hunter's search, inside that hidden sanctuary, trust had taken root. For the first time, Evan knew that together, they could face whatever came next. The night felt heavier than before. The cave had offered some safety, but Evan knew it was only temporary. Every rustle of leaves outside made his heart pound. Every distant snap of a branch could be a warning. Somewhere in the dark, the hunters were moving closer, relentless and precise. Lyra sat beside him, her silver hair glowing faintly. She was still weak, but her body radiated a soft light that made the shadows in the cave dance. She pressed her hand against his arm. "They are coming soon," she whispered. Evan swallowed hard. He had imagined this moment, but never thought it would feel so real. How soon? Lyra's eyes narrowed. Soon enough that hiding will not work. They will break in if they find this place. He nodded grimly. There was no time to plan an escape. They had to fight. Together. Evan grabbed the fire poker he had carried from the cabin, checking its weight. Lyra stood slowly, testing her legs. Her glow brightened, faint sparks running along her arms. "I can slow them down," she said, "but I cannot fight all of them. You must act when I give the signal." Evan nodded, fear and determination mixing in his chest. "I can do that." Outside, the wind shifted, carrying the metallic hum closer. The hunters had found the trail. They moved in perfect silence, their glowing blue eyes scanning for any sign of life. Then a loud crash echoed from the cabin in the distance. The first hunter had arrived. Evan's pulse raced. Lyra's glow flared suddenly. Light shot from her hands, a brilliant pulse that illuminated the cave and the surrounding forest. The hunters recoiled, emitting a shrill alien scream. Now! Lyra shouted. Evan swung the fire poker at the nearest hunter. Sparks flew as metal met metal. The creature hissed, staggering back, but it was relentless. Evan stumbled but recovered, striking again. Lyra sent another burst of light, temporarily blinding the others. The forest around them lit up like a broken star. "Run to the cabin," Evan yelled. "I'll hold them off." Lyra hesitated for a moment, fear in her eyes, but nodded. She dashed toward the cabin, leaving a trail of faint silver light behind her. Evan turned back to face the advancing hunters. There were 3 now, moving with terrifying precision. Evan's hands shook, but he gripped the poker tighter. He swung, ducked, and slammed it against a hunter's arm, sending it staggering. The hunter recovered instantly and lunged at him. Evan barely blocked with the poker, sparks flying again. Pain shot up his arm, but he refused to let go. Another hunter approached from behind. Evan spun around, striking at it with all his strength. Lyra's light surged, blinding the hunters momentarily. They hissed and scrambled backward, giving Evan a brief chance to move. The sound of footsteps on broken branches echoed from the woods. More hunters were coming. Evan realized they were surrounded if they didn't act fast. Then Lyra returned, glowing brighter than ever. She extended her hands, and a shield of soft silver light expanded, pushing the hunters back. Evan felt the warmth of her energy wash over him, giving him strength. "Together!" she shouted. Evan charged, swinging the poker with renewed courage. Lyra sent another wave of light, striking the hunters and scattering them like shadows. One of them fell to the ground motionless. The others howled but retreated into the dark forest. Evan dropped to his knees, breathing hard, sweat running down his face. Lyra stood before him, glowing faintly, but her energy was stabilizing. She placed her hand on his shoulder. "You saved me again," she said softly. "You risked your life. You are brave." Evan shook his head, exhausted. "We saved each other. You wouldn't have lasted out there alone." Her silver eyes met his, shining with a strange mix of fear and gratitude. "You are my family," she whispered. "And I will protect you too." Evan realized she wasn't just talking about tonight. The bond they had formed in the shadows, through fear and trust, had changed them both. The forest was quiet again, but the hum of distant hunters lingered in their minds. They had won this fight, but the war was not over. They needed a plan, a place to hide, and time to recover. Evan looked at Lyra, her glow softening in the darkness. "We survive," he said firmly. "Together," Lyra nodded. "Together." For the first time, Evan felt more than fear. He felt hope. And in the shadows of the forest, under the cold gaze of the stars, 2 unlikely allies stood ready to face whatever came next. The hunters had broken in. The battle had begun. And the night was far from over. The forest was alive with shadows, but tonight they were not empty. Every tree seemed to lean closer. Every branch seemed to reach out, warning Evan and Lyra that danger was near. The hunters had recovered from their earlier defeat. Their glowing blue eyes now burned through the darkness, scanning the snow and dirt for any trace of the fleeing pair. Evan's heart pounded as he grasped the fire poker tightly. Lyra ran ahead, her silver glow casting strange shapes across the trunks. Her light was soft but steady, guiding him through the thick undergrowth. He stumbled over roots and fallen branches, but he did not dare look back. He knew what followed. "They are fast," Lyra whispered, her breath forming tiny clouds in the cold night air. "And persistent. We cannot stop until we reach the river." "The river?" Evan panted, trying to match her pace. "How far is that?" "Not far, but you must trust me. One wrong step, and they will catch us." Evan nodded, though trust alone did not erase the fear coiling in his chest. Behind them, he heard the low hum, the unmistakable sound of alien hunters moving in perfect synchronization. Suddenly, one of the hunters burst from the shadows, its metallic form reflecting Lyra's glow. Evan swung the poker, striking it with all his strength. The metal screeched and sparks flew. The hunter staggered but did not fall. Another one appeared, faster than he expected. Lyra raised her hands, sending a blinding pulse of silver light toward the hunters. Evan shielded his eyes as the creatures hissed and recoiled. In that moment, he grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her along. "This way!" he shouted. They ran deeper into the forest, their path twisting between thick trees and uneven ground. The hunters recovered quickly, but Lyra's light created small bursts that slowed them down. Each flash of energy left glowing traces on the snow, confusing the alien pursuers, just long enough for Evan and Lyra to move ahead. After what felt like hours, they reached a narrow ravine. A frozen stream ran at the bottom, its surface smooth and glimmering under Lyra's light. The river would be their only chance. Its rushing waters and slippery ice could hide their energy signature from the hunters. Evan helped Lyra down the embankment, careful not to let her slip. Her body was lighter than human, but still weak from the crash and the previous battles. She stumbled slightly, and he caught her. "Almost there," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Lyra nodded, panting. "We must cross quickly. They will not wait." The river was icy and treacherous, but they had no choice. Lyra moved first, her silver glow bright enough to illuminate the path. Evan followed, testing each step carefully. The water rushed around their boots, freezing cold, but it masked their energy, making them harder to track. Behind them, the hunters emerged at the riverbank. One stepped into the water, but its glowing eyes struggled to see through the icy flow and the blinding light. Lyra extended her hands, and a wave of soft energy swept across the water. The hunters hissed and recoiled, unable to approach. Evan finally reached the other side, pulling Lyra with him. They collapsed onto the snowy ground, breathless, soaked, and exhausted. Her glow dimmed, her body trembling as she caught her breath. "You did it," Evan said, trying to smile, though his lips were numb. "We made it across." Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting moonlight and frost. "Yes, for now. But they will not give up easily. They will find another way." Evan shivered. He did not doubt her. These hunters were relentless. But at this moment, they were alive. Together. That was enough. Lyra placed her hand on Evan's chest, letting him feel the faint warmth of her glow. "You risked your life again," she whispered. "You saved me." Evan shook his head, exhausted. "We saved each other." For a long moment, they sat in the snow, listening to the distant hum of the forest. The hunters were still out there, somewhere in the darkness. But the river had bought them time. And in that moment of fragile safety, a bond formed deeper than fear or survival. Evan realized that Lyra was no longer just an alien he had saved. She was his companion, his ally, and somehow, his family. The forest was cold, the river unforgiving, and the hunters unrelenting. Yet, in the soft glow of Lyra's light, Evan knew they could face whatever came next together. The night had not ended. The chase would continue. But for now, they had each other. And that was enough. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the forest in soft gold and silver. Snow glimmered like scattered diamonds, and for the first time in hours, the world felt quiet. Evan and Lyra sat on a fallen log beside the frozen river, their breaths misting in the cold morning air. The hum of the hunters had faded. For now they were alone. Evan studied Lyra. Her glow had softened, almost gentle now, no longer flickering with fear or strain. She was tired, but alive, and that alone was a small miracle. "You're strong," he said softly, breaking the silence. I didn't know anyone human or not could survive like that. Lyra's silver eyes met his, and for a moment, the weight of the past night seemed to vanish. She smiled faintly. Strength alone is not enough. Trust, courage, and the will to protect others. That is what kept me alive. And you are brave, Evan. Braver than any human I have ever met. Evan laughed, a short, surprised sound. Brave? I just did what I had to do. You saved me too, in a way. Lyra tilted her head, considering him. You risked your life, not for reward, not for gain, but for me. That is rare in the universe. That is family. The word hung in the air. Evan felt a warmth bloom in his chest, spreading beyond fear, beyond exhaustion, beyond the cold that clung to his bones. Family. Not a word he had expected from a stranger, an alien stranger, but somehow it felt right. Family, he echoed. Softly. He had never had anyone to call family. He had lived alone for so long that the word almost felt foreign. But with Lyra beside him, glowing softly in the rising sun, he understood it in a way he never had before. She reached out and touched his hand, her skin cool but comforting. I will not leave you, she whispered. The hunters may return, but I will protect you. You are my family now. Evan nodded, his throat tight with emotion. And I'll protect you too. Whatever comes next, we face it together. They rose from the log, Lyra's glow shimmering brighter as she stretched. For the first time, she seemed more herself, her true self, not just a frightened fugitive. She looked at the distant forest where the shadows still lingered, and then back at Evan. We need to move, she said. The hunters will not stop. They are clever. They will search again. Evan followed her without hesitation. He had learned to trust her instincts. Together, they moved silently through the trees, leaving faint tracks that melted in the snow behind them. Every step they took was careful, deliberate, but confident. After some time, they reached a hidden plateau overlooking the forest. The sun rose fully, bathing the world in warm light. Lyra's glow mingled with the sunlight, casting strange, beautiful patterns on the snow. She looked at Evan, her eyes reflecting the golden light. This place. It feels safe, she said, though she knew better than to believe in permanent safety. We can rest, recover, plan our next move. Evan leaned against a rock, catching his breath. Safe for now, he said, smiling faintly. The words felt different this time, hopeful, not fearful. Lyra moved closer, her small hand brushing against his arm. You gave me life when I had none. You gave me warmth when I had only cold. You gave me trust when the universe had none left. That is more than I ever expected. Evan looked at her, understanding for the first time how fragile and precious this moment was. He had saved an alien stranger. And in doing so, he had found a connection, a bond he had never known he needed. She touched his chest again, and her glow brightened slightly. We are family, she repeated. And family stands together, no matter what comes next. Evan nodded. Together. The wind whispered through the plateau, carrying the distant sounds of the forest. The hunters might return, danger might never fully vanish. But in that moment, it did not matter. They had each other. They had trust, courage, and the quiet strength that comes from knowing someone will stand by you when the universe seems against you. Lyra's hand remained in his, warm in the way that only trust and companionship can make warmth feel. Evan looked out over the forest, feeling the sun on his face, the glow at his side, and the promise of a bond that nothing could break. For the first time in his life, Evan understood something profound. Family is not only born. Family is made, and as the first birds began to sing, and the snow sparkled in the morning light, Evan and Lyra stepped forward together, ready to face the endless possibilities of the universe. The night of fear, the chase, the hunters, they were behind them now. Ahead was survival, adventure, and the unbreakable bond of a human and an alien, united by trust, courage, and the word that would carry them through everything to come: family.